Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Orphan Black Season 4, Episode 5, Human Raw Material. This video is a part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Orphan Black, so I'll have to give a spoiler warning up to Season 4, Episode 5. If you haven't seen up to this episode, you may not want to watch this video, otherwise some things may be spoiled for you. So this was a pretty interesting change of pace. We didn't get anything about Beth or MK in this episode, and the Sarah storyline was more of a silly side plot than, and mainly Cosima took center stage, which I liked because we haven't seen much of her this season. So it was a fairly interesting episode, but I didn't find it as intriguing as some of the previous episodes. So first let me talk about Crystal, and I have to admit, I was really happy when I saw her again because I was really hoping they'd follow up on her. That being said, I'm not sure I was completely happy with what they did with her in this episode, as her character is actually quite tragic. What happened to her, and I feel really bad that she's kept in the dark while people around her were killed, and yet they try to play her off like she's, really, like her storyline's really comedic, and they seem to make light of her ignorance, and I'm not that okay with that, honestly. However, I didn't completely hate her storyline. I liked seeing her again. I liked that she was investigating what happened to her, and to her credit, she was making some headway enough to track them down to Brighton, but still she is very much in the dark. I personally would have preferred that she found out that she was a clone, and I hope that she does in the future, but I kind of doubt it. Also, this show seems pretty obsessed with using Donnie for comic relief, so much so that he's starting to become a main character. However, this week, the scene with him giving Crystal a massage I thought was rather silly and in a bad way. I'm starting to tire of Donnie's comic relief and think that they should ease up on it a little bit. Also, we saw earlier in this episode Crystal training in self-defense, and that she was quite effective, and I was kind of disappointed that she wasn't able to take down the goon that grabbed her, but whatever. So we also get a brief appearance by Art in this episode with a creepy Union rep guy warning him to stay away from the Hendrixes and talking about how they're being investigated for dealing drugs. I thought this scene was a bit weird, as it pretty much indicates that guy knows that Art is involved with Sarah and the other clones, so maybe he shouldn't have acted like such a dick to him in the previous episode, but whatever. What was more interesting was when Sarah confronted Allison about it, who seemed to brush it off and not take this threat very seriously, and casually mentioned that Helena ran away like it was no big deal, and then proceeded to blame Sarah for it. So it seems like Allison is actually being quite a problem, and I wonder if a clash between her and Sarah is coming, but we'll see. But speaking of Sarah, in this episode she's mainly dealing with Felix's biological sister, and things come to a head between them at an explosive dinner scene where she keeps hounding her. Because apparently the company they use to find each other is owned by Brighton, which makes her suspicious, and when she confronts Felix about it, he just dismisses Sarah as being jealous, which only raises the tension between them. However, Sarah has their DNA tested to discover that they are in fact brother and sister, so that seems to be the end of that, and Sarah was being paranoid for no good reason. Or was she? I don't know, but something just didn't sit right with me. The way Adele was asking Kira about her grandmother and that she was in Iceland, obviously referring to the original that Brighton is desperately looking for. Plus, she learned where Sarah's safe house is, and I'm sorry, it just seems a bit too convenient. So I wouldn't be surprised if she was somehow faking the DNA test, which I know would be hard since she didn't even know it was being conducted, but not impossible for someone working for a company whose specialty is genetics. Either way, either that or she is really Felix's sister, but she is also a spy for Brighton, who paid her to do this once they realized she was Felix's sister. I wasn't sure before that she's a spy, but I'm pretty sure now. I'm pretty sure that she is. So we also get a few scenes with Sarah and Kira together, and it was great seeing the two of them together as they haven't been spending much time together recently. And we get a bit more about Kira's magical abilities, but we still don't know what they are, but she seems to have some sort of psychic connection to all of Sarah's clones, even the ones she has never met. So I do think this storyline is going somewhere. So let's get to the main plot with Cosima snooping around the conference. This was all just a great coincidence that the conference so happened to be on the very next day and that Evie and Susan Duncan just so happened to be there. So it does look like they're building Susan Duncan as the main villain this season, and she's involved with the Neo-Elitionists apparently and is the head of the whole organization that they're dealing with this season. I didn't realize this, but to be honest, it's been a while since I've seen season 3 and I didn't actually care much for that season, so maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to it. So I don't even remember Susan Duncan that well. However, this does seem like a massive character switch for her to me, but whatever. Anyway, it was great seeing Cosima being the one doing the investigating rather than Sarah, who does it all the time. And of course, it made perfect sense for it to be her, as she was able to pick up a lot of the scientific intricacies that the others wouldn't. But the real question is, did Cosima buy Susan Duncan's song and dance? I wouldn't be too surprised either way. I don't think she'll ever just give up the original without going to Sarah first, but I do think that she will definitely tell the others about it and run this possibility by them, because she is, after all, dying, and Susan is offering her a chance to save her life. Something like that has got to be a little bit enticing. As for Susan herself, I did find it interesting that she knew right away which clone was which, where Evie kept getting them confused, thinking that Crystal was Sarah, and then thinking that Crystal was Cosima. However, I was less interested in the big shocking reveal at the end of the episode, where it's revealed that she's lovers with that Castor clone. Yeah, who cares? Not me, that's for sure. So my rating for human raw material out of 10 is a 7, very good. A pretty interesting change of pace where we see Cosima learning more about what these people are up to and setting up some other interesting situations such as Kira's visions, the problem with Allison, and Susan being the one the main villain of this season. But there was a lot of failed comedy in this episode. The whole storyline with Sarah and Felix's conflict was kind of boring. So that's it for my review of Human Raw Material. Be sure to check back here every week as I review episodes of Orphan Black, and be sure to check out my channel for many more videos on shows like Game of Thrones, Star Trek, Fear the Walking Dead, and more, and be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. And thanks a lot for watching.